of your opportunity. And sometimes that's just a little easier to be able to find things. So you're going to want to have an opportunity, your opportunity, whichever one it is you're going into. And I'm going to go ahead and set up a new one real quick. So I'll go back here and set up a new opportunity. We're going to call this one a listing. I have a client that I use. For these. And I generally find when starting this, I fill it out with the least amount of information possible. You can just leave it alone, but if I already know I have an appointment with them, I go ahead and start it in the right place rather than moving it later. So this is what you'll see. You've got the details in here. This is the name of your client. When you are filling out the information, you can connect. This is where you can connect it to the MLS once you've actually listed it on the MLS. To change the name in our offices, probably all the other offices do it the same way. The name of your listing needs to be the address of the property. And it's really important to make sure you get paid. So it's a really good idea to change this to the address of the property. So, and how to do that is you press that little pencil, and the opportunity name right now is your client's name and that it's a listing. If you don't change this to the property address, what happens is the check comes into the market center, and then the person who's in charge of making sure that you get paid doesn't know what to do with the check, to which agent to assign it to. So it's kind of important that you put the address here. So we can make up an address. And we'll just put the city and state. You don't necessarily have to, but sometimes it's just easier. And then you just make sure everything that has a little red star is filled out and hit save. And that gives you what you need to know. So the command will auto fill in some things in the marketing section so that you can pull over designs and things like that that are appropriate to the stage of this presentation. Those are good to look at later. If you go into the document section, you will see a list of, well, you'll see to pick a checklist type. So the first thing you want to do is pick this checklist type, because that's going to autofill the documents that you need. This is important because if you don't pick the checklist type and you go into Docusign without having picked this, your documents won't autofill. So you pick the checklist type. Pick Virginia because that's where we are. And in the listed section, these are the documents that are required. We've got to get the listing agreement. We've got to get the tax record or the MLS listing. If it's appropriate, the residential property disclosure. And if you click here, condition is use if needed. Useful information about a transaction is required. Lead-based paint is conditional. And then there's extra space for other addendums if you need them. This is only for the listing section. So if you click under contract, you can also see the documents that are required for that. And if there's any documents required on closed, and they're usually not. So in the listed section, these are the documents that we're going to want to pull. So when you go over to here, start a transaction, this is going to take you into Docusign. Now in July, oops, hold on. There we go. In July, when they made all the changes, some of the document sets don't auto-populate anymore. So we'll see if these are some of them. So because this is the first time we're doing this, Docusign is creating a room for this particular transaction. It is possible for you to go into Docusign rooms and create a room, but if you do it in Docusign rooms before you do it in Command, it will not link. So you want to start in Command, you want to move into Docusign, and then you want to finish off your transaction in Docusign. It's important that you remember to do it that way, or you'll be missing out on having things hooked up. It's just so much easier when it's all hooked. So this auto-populate isn't quite working yet. Get into the habit of when you go into Docusign to go over here to the details section first. So you want to click details and fill out any of this information. So if you click edit, just fill out what you know. We've got, and kind of start over here. We've got our sample client. We've got their cell phone. There's their email address. You can fill out all that information. If there's a second seller, this is their information. You want to go down to the listing agent, which is going to be you. And your company, the address. If you fill this out, Docusign will auto-populate it into your contracts for you. So if you fill this out here, it saves you time later on. And the other thing you want to fill out is, because you are the listing agent, scroll down to the bottom and it's going to say buyer broker 1. No, listing broker. That's what we want. So we want Rick Cockrell. As I start typing, it gives me his address. Now, it's very important that you click save down here on the bottom. I can't tell you how many times I have just exited out and gone someplace else. None of this information will save. Docusign does not auto-save. So if you fill it out and then you go out and you come back and you say, but I did all that, you just forgot to hit save. I do it all the time. Click save, the room's been updated. The next thing you can scroll back to the top if you want, but you can just click documents. So our documents didn't auto-populate. So the way that you get your documents is you go over here to add, and we're going to add them from Docusign forms. And then you're going to get libraries, and hopefully you'll have groups like this set up. So we're doing a listing. So this is our Virginia listing group. If I click on that, these are the documents, and these are going to be mostly the documents that are needed. So we know we're most likely going to need a residential property disclosure statement, the D4 statement. We're going to want the exclusive right to sell. If our house was built, you know, prior to the 70s, you're going to need the lead-based paint disclosure, and then the useful information about a transaction. If you needed to add more, these are the libraries of forms that you subscribe to. So the names might be different for you. I'm an agent in West Virginia, so these are my West Virginia forms. These are the standard forms for my office alone. These are the 2 sets of forms that are available for Virginia. This is my association that I belong to, and then this is just the Virginia Association of Realtors. So probably all of you have this one. So I know I want to add these 3 forms. And then you can just click into the forms. And when they open, you start filling them out. So if you had the property address filled out already in the in your detail section, that property address would populate over here, but we didn't. So we'll just use mine. And then I don't have my legal description today, but if I did, it would go there and the names, and then there's sections for them to sign, save and close. State with abbreviation VA not found. Interesting. Oh, maybe it didn't like my space. Never seen it do that before. Okay, so then you're going to go into the main form, exclusive right to sell. And honestly, you just start filling it out. You put in the date. And your name should be here for your clients. If for some reason your full name doesn't fit, you can just say Keller Williams Realty. They're going to do the property address. You'll get this tax map information on Bright or your MLS, whichever one it is. You can go there and figure that out from the public records. Just fill out what's applicable. Then you're going to go into the lot block, or is it meets and bounds? Fill in the levels, seller mailing address. You're going to fill in your broker information. And you just go through the entire form and fill it out just like you would normally. So every single box. I find it easier to fill the form out with my client, so I'm also explaining it, and then I bring it back written all over it, and then I come back and fill it in neatly, rather than, or if they're in the office with me, I fill it in with them here. But it just seems to be easier because for me that I can explain the form at the same time that we're filling it out. But you just want to make sure they know what they're signing. So you fill in all this information. And once you get to the bottom, you can fill out any extra terms that's left for this. You make sure that your broker information is filled out. And then, you know, that your information is correct. And then you're going to save and close. Once you have all of the forms filled out the way that you want them to be done, you're going to be ready to like send them off for signatures. So the way to do that, first of all, is everybody clear so far what we're doing? Do we have any questions? No? Okay. So you're going to pick the forms you'd like to send off. There's two different ways you can do it. I find this way is pretty easy. This pen up here for signature is how you're going to create an envelope. So kind of think about this like if you're sending letters or actual business documents, you would put them in an envelope. So this is how we're going to send them out to our clients. So you're going to create an envelope. So these are the three documents that we just put into the envelope. If you want to have them in a different order, you can change the order that way. So if I want the exclusive right to sell to go first and have that be the first thing they look at, then the useful information goes at the end. So I can move the D4 to here and then put the useful information there. It's just a matter of what you're comfortable with. Up here, this envelope name, it's really important that you change this. It's going to be called Please Docusign every time you make an envelope. So if you get that and you're going to send several things to your clients, and every single envelope when it lists them out will say, please Docusign, please Docusign, please Docusign. And you won't have any idea what's in it without opening it, and it just takes extra time. So no one sees this but you. Feel free to change the please DocuSign to what is in the envelope. So this is the listing agreement. And the residential property disclosure. And then useful information. So if I'm looking for it later, I know where it is. When you're coming down to add recipients to an envelope, there's two ways you can do this. The easiest way to do this is to add recipient and choose pre-tagged roles. The reason you want to choose pre-tagged roles is if you choose pre-tagged roles, it will automatically fill in all the signature blocks for you with the right people, and you won't have to, it'll take you a lot. This is just going to save you a ton of time. If for some reason you're adding somebody that, or you added an extra thing and you need to just put somebody in, you can choose room participants, but or it's your own PDF document, you won't be able to choose pre-tagged roles, but you really want to get in the habit of always choosing pre-tagged roles for your recipients. And when you do that, it gives you the option, who is seller one? So these are the people that are in the transaction. So seller one is our sample client. And then we don't have a second seller. We're not dealing with buyers. The listing broker to be able to sign it, it's going to be Rick. And then the agent doesn't have to sign anything. Now in our office, we have a different thing where I can sign for Rick. So then I would choose myself as the broker so that I can sign the document. But we do that later. So click add selected, and it's going to show you. Now right here, you can pick the order that you want them to sign. I don't want the broker to sign it until my seller has signed. So he's going to be he or she will be number one, and then the broker is going to be the second person. So if I put the broker on second, what Docusign will do is it will send the document to the first seller, like to my seller first, and he needs to sign it. And then when he's done, it'll send it to my listing broker to have it signed because he needs to sign it. Now you can also send it to another person. So I want to add another recipient, and I want to just add their email address because let's say we have an office admin and or I have an assistant who needs to get a copy of this document. So I'll put my assistant's name in, and then I'll go down to the email address and I'll drop in my assistant's address. And I can click here that they just need to receive a copy. So this is nice if it's a contract, you're in a hurry, once it's all fully signed, you know everything's good to go, you can hit receive a copy and put the other agent's phone number, email in here, so it's going to go to that other agent. There's a lot of different ways you can use this. Then down here, the message to all recipients. This will be seen by everybody this is going to. So for your email subject, you can just leave it at please DocuSign, but I like to just add please read in DocuSign, just as like a reminder that they should probably look over it before they just automatically sign it. DocuSign makes it so easy. You can open it, press like 4 buttons, and they're finished. And then they've signed a legal document that they may or may not have reviewed. So hopefully you've gone over this with them ahead of time, or they're going to read it step by step. So it's important. I think it's just one of those little extra steps that kind of helps you in the long run. And then you can write an email message to them. Their own name right is probably generally important. So that's the message that they'll receive on the list from DocuSign. So now that it's set up to send, I'm going to go up here to next. You can just save and close it and come back to this later if you need to, but you go up here to next. And this is where we're going to confirm that everything's set up okay. Does anybody have any questions yet? Here we go.
I do.
Okay.
So I'm actually working on a leasing right now. So this should be the same process, right? Same way.
You're working on a what right now? I'm sorry.
On a rental property.
Okay.
So this should be the same process as well, right?
Yes, this is the same. This is the way you'd send any document at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Just you'll use different documents. So yours will be the exclusive right to lease.
Okay.
But if you're working for the landlord, and then if you're working with renters, it's called exclusive right to represent tenant, I think.
Yes, that's the one I have. I just haven't got this far yet. How to send the forms
Okay.
or the document. Sorry.
You'll just fill in the right parts in the forms that you're using. It works the same way no matter what forms you're using. You just want to make sure you're using the proper forms. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So because we chose the pre-filled out part, I use this as a great way to kind of just go over the document and make sure that I have all of the boxes filled out in the right place. And just so you know, you won't necessarily with the property information have every single box filled out. You should have the tax ID filled out. The most important thing when you're filling out these is you're trying to designate this property apart from any other property. So if you just put the address, sometimes that's not enough information. It should be, but it generally isn't. So the tax map ID definitely designates it as a completely different property from any other property. So any information that they have in that legal description and legal information, it's easier to look in the public records sections of the MLS to find out the information that you have and just fill out whatever you can find. So this helps you as you're entering it into the MLS. So this is the best way. So you just can kind of go through and figure out what do we have left. And everything looks good as I go down each page to make sure. Now, if I come somewhere and let's see if it does it like it usually does. What did it do for? Every once in a while, I'll do something funny and put the wrong email. I'm going to do this. Okay, so I forgot to put the email in here for the broker. And now I'm in the sending section, so I can't fill out anything else, but I can edit it a little bit. So what I can do is see these tools over here. You have standard fields, you've got this custom fields, you've got notary fields, and then we have pre-fill tools. Now Docusign works in a lot of different industries, so not every tool will fit with what we do. We don't typically draw things, but we're going to go here into the pre-fill tools. Now these tools, absolutely everyone can see. So if you have 5 people getting this, everybody's going to see what you do. So I forgot to put the broker's email in here. So the way to do that is to go to the pre-fill tool and you're going to hit text. And then I'm going to bring that text box over here to email and I'm going to line it up. And then I go over here to add text. And typically you would not yell it at someone, but at this point, I don't think it matters. So we're also going to change the size of it so it fits. And you can move it around. And there you go. Now, if I entered this cell phone number incorrectly, these are sort of your editing tools as well. I can take a line and it's gonna, if you were doing this with a contract, you would use a red line to make a change to the contract, and then you could add some initial boxes. But instead of doing that, because our original contract hasn't gone out yet, this is the wrong phone number. Now I can change this. So I've started it as a line. I'm going to go to the thickness. and change it up till it's thick enough to cover up all of those letters and numbers. Then if I change the color to white, I basically used it as whiteout. So then I can come over here and take that text box again and change the phone number. And now I've changed the phone number. Now, the important thing to remember about any changes that you make here, they will not populate back to your original document. These are only changes that will be in the final document that your client sees. So if for some reason you had to resend that document again, you're going to have to either use the one that was already signed by everybody else, or you'll need to make these changes to that document before you send it again. So they won't go back to the original document. They'll only be in the one that you sent your client. They're only making changes to this piece of paper. You can head down and let's say you forgot to fill in these boxes. This is a radio box. So you can click radio, and then actually, instead of doing it here with these, it would be better for who needs to fill this out. So you come up here to your sample client is the one you need to fill it out. You go back to your standard field, and I need my client to fill out whether or not they hold if they want it sold as is condition. So if you place the first radio box, it'll automatically add a second, and you can add a third or fourth if you need to. And so you'll place these in the right place. What this will do, it will then, and then you look over here under the rules, and it says, is it required or is it read only? So this is a required field. They have to pick, and it won't let them move forward until they pick. They do or do not want you to offer it in as is condition. So if you made a change, let's say we decided that, I'm going to go back to changing this. There's our line. We have to line that out. We don't want that to be white. So we'll change that to red. And then we also then needed to, because now we've made a change, we have to put some initials. So we can add some initial buttons here. So that, and if we had more than one, everybody who's on this gets their own color. So the next person, the broker wouldn't technically need to initial this, but if you had another lister, another seller, you could put a second initial button for them so that they could initial that this was a change that was made to the contract. Then you're going to head down and you're just still double checking, can see, do you need any of these things filled out? And then when you get to the bottom of this bazillion page document, you will see that you already have dates and signatures set up based on your colors and the people up here. All this information is listed. Everything seems to be accurate. And you can go through every single page. So your client's going to sign here. These are left for the people who buy. We're down to our, I call the real estate dictionary. So you run down to the bottom of that. There's a signature spot there, and you're good to go. When you're ready to send it off, you just click send. Now, if you want to see what it's going to look like to your client, this preview button is very handy. You can pull it up and actually see the experience that they have. So they're going to click on a desktop, they'll click start. It'll roll down to the first initial. It'll go to the second initial. This is where they're signing. And when they're done, and there's nothing left, they click finish. You can't click finish because you can't sign for them. If you're going to see it on a tablet, it essentially looks the same way. If they do it on their phone, it just pulls everything tight together. So this is how they'll see it on their phone. And you can do it for each individual person. So if I want to see what it's going to look like for my sample, for my client, the view changes just a little bit. Kind of another way to check and see what you're done. When you're finished, you hit send. It will send it to the client first. It will send it to the broker second. And when that's done, it will then send a copy to my assistant that we asked it to do. You can go back if you need to add an extra document. You need to make sure you have the right email address before you send it. There's ways to go back and do those things. It just depends on how fast your internet is in your office. But these are the ways to do those sorts of things. Does anybody have any questions about this section? We're good? Okay. So other things that you can do in Docusign, that's the super basics of getting things in and getting it out to sign. Now, as you get more advanced in using it, you're going to realize that you're filling out the same information every single time. One of the other things you can do is upload PDF documents into Docusign. So if you have a document that you need to send out, because, for instance, a contract that came back and it needs to be signed, you can do that. So you can add documents from your computer. And you can go into the folders where you have them. And let's say we just need to add, let's see, I actually have a document we can add. If we had, let's just say we had a list of like things that were going to be in there. These are my, there's these. I have a list of things for people to fill out their utilities. There we go. So I was going to send this. I wanted to have somebody. So I have this PDF document. Now it's a little different with PDFs because you can't really fill them in. I can go in and add some lines and things, but if I needed to add signatures to the bottom of this, I could have them add signatures. There are things I can do. I can go into the signature things and add all those text lines in. If I just need to add the property address and the seller name, I can also create another envelope. Now, in this case, I'm not going to have predefined roles because this isn't a document that's been set up with Docusign. So I'm just going to click room participants. Seller one is the person it needs to go to. Nobody else needs to deal with it. So I'm going to hit add selected. I filled out all this information. Let me go into the next. And I can give them the option to fill in the information here. So I need them to add text here. I can give them room to add text. And I can just add those boxes. And so they can add the text that they need to add. And you want to make sure, you know, there's an electrical company. So this isn't a required field. So you want to give them the option to add, like to add that. Their cable TV provider, you can add the property address as your pre-fill tool. And then you can add their seller name yourself, whatever you'd like to do. And when you're ready to send it, they don't need to sign it. If you needed to add a signature, if you needed to add initials, you could do that. And then you just hit send and it's ready to go. So that's another way that you can use Docusign to get things that you need kind of done. If you needed to, if you knew somebody was sending you something and you wanted it to go straight into your documents, there's a way that you can email documents directly into your Docusign room. And the way to do that is to get your room ID number. So I'm going to show you where it is. This room ID number right here. If you copy and paste this, and it tells you right there as you hover over what to do, copy and paste the room ID into your email subject in order to send documents into this room. So what you can do is, and this is an example, see how we left please Docusign? So this is literally what all of them would look like. Please Docusign, please Docusign, please Docusign. So you want to put what that is, and it tells you what status it's in. And so this hasn't actually gone out to anybody yet. But if you want documents to end up right here in your room, you take this ID and then you go into inbox, you click inbox, this gives you the address. So if you email soldbyscotty@mail.docusign.net with that room ID in the subject line, those documents will show up in that room. If you just email that address, they'll show up in here. And I can move them to that room, but it's easier just to put them in the room in the first place. There is another thing that you can do as you start filling out documents. You're going to see the same documents over and over and over again. The same areas. You're going to constantly have to fill out your name and your MLS ID and your licensing stuff. There'll come a point where you're just kind of sick of doing that. So you can use what's called a static template. So if you go in under My Docs and you click on Form Templates, odds are yours will be empty. Mine is not. So this will probably be empty for you, but it will tell you where your, what forms you have done this with already. And so what you'll need to do is, and then you look at the date, which is important because you know how we make the changes to the forms twice a year. So this will let you know if they're a new form or not. So you're going to go into a template. So to create a form template, you hit create a form template. You're going to use your Docusign form library. Which library do you want to use? So you pick which one to use. And because this is a listing, you can, if you know the form number, like the K1384, you can do that. If you don't, you can just type in the name of the form. You click on that form, and this is the one you want to use. What this template does is override anything that you type in. So if you type in information, this form will automatically change it and put it in. So you only want to do information that you know is going to be the same every time. Like you wouldn't put a date. You wouldn't put client names because that will change. Odds are your brokerage isn't going to, so you can fill that out. That could be the same. It'd be better if I spelled it right. So you've got your brokerage name. All this information will change every time. The landlord information will change. The broker information probably isn't going to change. So you can go ahead and type that in. So as you fill in all this information, and then all these terms, lease terms, all of this will generally be different. All of this information will probably change. And then you can kind of scroll down to the bottom. And then type in this information that you want to be there all the time. And then your broker's information. And then all his info. Now, before you save and close this, you want to come up here and change the name of it. And the main reason you want to change the name of it is you want to put a date on it. So it doesn't have to be an exact date, but we're going to do this one 8/22. That way, if they make changes to this leasing exclusive right to leasing agreement, and if you call it something else, you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But if you make that and they make a change, you'll know that your template is for a different version of this form. So if they, you know, how they make those changes twice a year and they make a change to this form, you'll know yours was for the last version. So then you click this green check, and that's what it's called. So then you're going to click save and close. And this is form K1281, just for ease of finding it again. And so you will look down here and see, here's the form we just did, exclusive right to lease. And if you wanted to make an edit to it, you can edit it. And then you can copy it or you can delete it if it's been changed and you don't need it anymore. Now, when you have these form templates and you need to put something, you need to use them, there's two different ways you can do it. We're going to go back into our room. And we're going to go back into our sample client listing right here that we were using. And go back to our documents. It's probably not the one we were on before. No, but that's okay. So we're going to add a form. So there's two different ways you can do it. So we're going to find the form here. Oh, you have to go into the right library first. So if you go into the right library, the exclusive right to lease, I'm going to click on this. This is the form I'm looking for. And now it's offered, do I want to pre-fill the template? Yes or no? So I do. So I can click, which one do you want to use? Because we have more than one. So I'm going to use the one I just did. And then I'm going to add that selected form. And so when I open this form, all my information, like the information I put in, but all is there, but also all the information I added is in there. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the form, all the information I added is already there. So I don't have to type that again and again. And it really will save you a lot of time so that you're not constantly looking and, you know, having to copy and paste things from a different section in your computer. The other way that you can add this template is if you forgot. You can, let me do it if it's already there. No, go back into the room and get back into the one that we were using. What did we change? This one. And add that document again. If I add that document. And I forgot to add the template there. I can right click on the document and add apply form template. And which one did I want to apply? The one we just made, and click apply. So now the template's been added, and then I can open it up and fill out the rest of it. So it's going to override all that. Now you'll notice that these say form right here. And then this says PDF. So this is letting you know that this is a fillable form that probably came out of, your Docusign forms. This is a PDF that you've uploaded yourself. There's also some other, if it's green, so this is the certification. Once it's been signed, you're going to get a certification for every time you send out a set of documents. This certifies that they were done and that they're actually signed. If they're green and you have a check mark, that means these documents have been signed. So these are all forms. So the other thing you can do, because it kind of gets messy, nobody sees your Docusign rooms. Nobody goes in there to check on you or anything like that. So if you feel like it's messy and you want to kind of clean them up, the way that you can do that is you can set up some folders. And the way to set up folders is to go over here to actions. You click there and you add a folder. So you can add a folder that says signed. You can add a folder that mimics what you have in command. So you can add one that's listed under contract and closed. You can make the folder say anything you want. So you've got your signed documents here. We can do another folder that says certifications. And we can add another folder that says it could just be done. And we want to put these documents in here. So we've already done these, we've sent these. So in order to move them, you're going to come up here to move. I'm going to click this. It will ask you, where do you want to put them? So we want to put them in a folder in the current room. You can move them to somebody else's room too, but you probably don't want to do that. Folder in the current room. Which one do I want to put it into? I want to put it in the done folder. I want to move it. And so now they're all going to show up in the done folder. And when I open the room, all I'm going to see is this one document. And if I don't want to see these now, I can just close it up. So here's my folders. There's nothing in those. And here's just my room doc. So if that makes you more comfortable, you can just have a cleaner looking thing. Don't be afraid to kind of look around. And you click this, look up here, you can copy this document. You can move it someplace else. You can email it directly. If you need to then send it to yourself, or you want to save it to your computer, you can do that. You can print it. You can't print it if you haven't opened it yet, but there are times when you can print it. So if print doesn't show, it's because you haven't opened it and filled something out. It won't let you print it until it feels like it. We can create an envelope for this. We can download it directly to our computer. You can archive it, which just means you don't see it, and you can delete it. Don't delete things. And the main reason you don't want to delete things is because of licensing issues. You will, we all have that obligation to keep things for a certain amount of time. So this is a way to make sure that you're keeping those things. So it's important that you just kind of stay out of the habit of using delete. You don't want to be deleting documents. You can archive them so you just don't have to look at them, but don't delete them. And so if we were going to go to combining things, you can combine things in command, and I'm pretty sure you've already been shown how to do that. But if we wanted to combine some documents, we can, let's say we want to put this together because we want to put all these together to send over to put and upload for compliance in Command. So we just kind of click on these three things. We're going to click combine. And what do you want to call the new document name? So this can just be whatever you want to call it. And then you can save it. Oh, two compatible files? I thought I did. Well, I bet they don't want me to do it because they're not finished with them yet. Maybe they don't want me to combine PDFs with the other ones. Let's see. That's why. Okay, hold on. We'll combine something else. So I want to combine my right to lease and my information about a transaction. So we're going to combine those. These are both signed. Maybe. Okay, we want to combine these documents. We're going to call these I'm going to hit save. So now we have a separate PDF that if we open it up is all of the listing docs together. So the first part is the our listing information. And then when we get to the end, sorry, I hope I'm not making anybody dizzy. Somewhere in here, it goes at the beginning. Doesn't look like it combined them, does it? Oh, there it goes. So there's your useful information. Here's your contract. Here's your useful information. So I can upload these separately, or I can upload them together as one big lump. So this is my information. And then I can put them back in my folders. If I don't want to look at these folders, I can just tidy them all up and only see my room docs or see nothing. So that's kind of your introduction to Docusign. Does anybody have any questions on that? Anybody have any questions on how to use any of this? So once you have done all your documents in Docusign and you need to put them into Command, you go back into Command, and these are the required documents to be able to submit it to compliance. So we need our listing agreement, and we're going to upload them from Docusign. So I'm going to put them from Docusign, and then we're going to go into room docs in Docusign, which is where they are. And it's not going to be options because I need to refresh the page. Olivia asked when I use the utility service info doc. I use that when I'm setting up a listing or setting up a rental. I generally will give it to people to fill out just so we can fill out the form and tell people, who are you going to call for cable? Who are you going to call for gas? Who do you call for electricity? It's just a nice thing to do to tell people where do they, and I'm happy to share the document. I have one that's tagged with my company logo, and I have one that's just tagged with the Keller Williams logo. If somebody else wants it, I'm happy to share it with them. If you want a copy of it, just send me an email and let me know. I'd be happy to send that. And so then it is uploading. So we're going to go into, it's just refreshing. So we're going to go into Docusign to attach the files. When it's done refreshing, if you look at the details on this, it will tell you what's synced with Docusign and what hasn't. So if I make a change to this document, let's say I go in here to the general information and I make a change, and Docusign doesn't care about that. Let's see. We put our contract date in and it's the 10th. And our estimated list price is $250. And our close date is going to be super fast. We're going to do the 27th. We're going to save this. And now it's going to tell you that we put in the 27th and Docusign doesn't know this part yet. So this you've edited. So if you want to sync this information over with Docusign, you can come back up here and hit sync transaction. Command can tell Docusign stuff, but Docusign isn't going to tell Command anything in return. So if you make changes in Docusign, it won't get it back to Command. But if you make the changes in Command, you can tell Docusign what the new changes are. So it's going to ask, do you want to update it? And now it says edited, but if I click refresh, it will now tell me it's been synced. I will send you that, Rosa. All right, so now you can see that everything's been synced in with Docusign. So we're going to go back to our documents. We're ready to upload. So we're going to want to submit things to the Market Center. We can't do it right now because there's nothing to submit. So you can attach the files from Docusign or you can attach them from your computer. It's up to you how you want to do it. I've done it both ways. If you're going to attach from Docusign, tell it Docusign. And what's the working folder? Is it Room Docs? And then we've set up other folders. So which folder did you want to send? Which folder are they in that you want to send them? Obviously, you're going to want to send signed docs, but I don't think we actually have any documents in our signed folder right now. So we're going to do the Room Docs, the listing agreement. So what do we move everything into? It doesn't matter. So whatever the document is called, there's one called listing agreements. So we're going to put it in utility services info. But if that was the right document, it would be there. And then you're going to fill in whatever documents you have. And then when you're ready to submit it to the Market Center, you're going to hit submit to Market Center. Now I could do that, but I don't feel like irritating my broker today. So you submit it to the Market Center. And then if it comes back, this obviously would, because it's the completely wrong documents. It will come back and you can look at it and there'll be a comment. It'll say submitted. And then if they send it back to you, it'll say rejected. And there'll be a little speech bubble right next to it. And you can click on the speech bubble. They'll tell you why it's rejected. What are you missing? What do you need to add? It's very handy. In case something isn't signed because you attached the wrong thing, or there's a couple different, there's some major mistakes and then there's some little ones. Obviously, you'd rather just have it come back and not deal with it. But the first couple of times, expect that there might be issues, and it's not personal. They just want to make sure you're on the up and up and they're on the up and up and everybody's got what they need. And that's pretty much Docusign in a nutshell. I'm always available if you have any questions. I'm a certified Docusign trainer. Once again, I'm so sorry I was late this morning. And does anybody have any other questions that they would like to discuss? No? Okay, let me see what we said in chat here. My email address is sold by Scotty, SCOTTIE @kw.com, and I will put it in the chat. In all capitals. Apparently, I'm still working in all capitals. There you go. Not intending to yell. Copy and paste this so that I make sure I get this form sent out. Okay. Think that concludes Docusign. And anyone else have any questions at all? Once your listed docs, you're gonna submit to the Market Center a few different times. You'll submit them after you take a listing or after you start working with the buyers. Then once they're under contract, there's another time you've got to submit. So you've got to do that again. Put in your purchase agreement, any kind of addendums that you have, property disclosures, home inspection contingencies, and anything like that. If you need to add another folder, you can do that over here. If you click include DocuSign forms, it'll let you add it ahead of time. You can also just click add document. And that will give you another line. So we'll just say add document. And it's going to ask you, what is your document name? So it can be whatever disclosure, or you just say what it is, and then what's the type of document so that they know. Generally, it's going to be a disclosure. Where do you want to find it? On your computer or on Docusign? If it's on my computer, I can browse my files and it'll let me pick the document. Put it in, and then I hit save. And now it's an additional document at the bottom of the list. And then when I'm ready with my under contract docs, everything's gone through, I can hit submit to Market Center and they can be approved that way as well. All of these things have to be done. You generally want to do it before closing. Do them as quickly as possible. And then when your offers and commissions comes in, it'll be a lot easier because these have to be approved before they're going to approve paying you. And everybody's doing this because we want to get paid. So I guess that's it. Does anybody have anything else? You're done for the week early. And let me stop sharing my screen. All right. Is that it? I'm always available if you have any questions. The first time you see this, I know it's a little overwhelming. So you're welcome to reach out and I'm happy to help with any of this. There's also answers.kw.com is a great resource for any kind of questions you're having with Docusign, with Command, with any Keller Williams platform, any related Keller Williams platform. And that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for joining us this week. And I hope you've got a pretty good introduction into Command. And you also have your Market Center Tech Trainer too, can help as well. Thank you. Have a great day.